Mm.
Every March, something familiar happens. Storefronts turn green, shamrocks appear everywhere, from clothing to cupcakes. Cities host parades, rivers are dyed emerald, music plays, laughter spills into the streets, and St. Patrick's Day becomes a day of celebration. For many people, it's simply a fun cultural holiday. But as Unitarian Universalists, people who try to live thoughtfully and intentionally, we might pause and ask a deeper question: what are we really celebrating? And perhaps just as important, how do we celebrate in a way that honors the deeper roots of this day rather than overlooking them? Because like many holidays, St. Patrick's Day carries layers of history, some joyful, some complicated, and some that invite us into deeper reflection. St. Patrick's Day is named for Patrick, a 5th century missionary who is credited with helping to spread Christianity in Ireland. The stories about him are well known. Patrick driving the snakes out of Ireland, Patrick using the shamrock to explain the Christian Trinity. But like many stories that survive across centuries, these tales are part history and part myth. What often gets left out of the conversation is that before Patrick ever arrived in Ireland, the island was already home to a rich and vibrant spiritual tradition, Celtic paganism. This was a spirituality deeply rooted in the land. The Celtic peoples saw the sacred not as something distant or removed from everyday life, but as something woven into the natural world itself, in rivers and forests, in stones and hills, in the turning of the seasons. The world was alive with spirit. To the Celts, there was not a sharp division between the sacred and the ordinary. Life itself was sacred. Seasonal changes were moments of spiritual significance. Festivals marked the shifting rhythms of the earth. Around this time of year, as winter loosened its grip, people celebrated the return of light and the promise of spring. Celtic spirituality also spoke of what they called thin places. These were locations where the boundary between the visible world and the sacred felt especially close, places where one might sense the presence of mystery more clearly. It was a spirituality rooted in relationship with the land, with ancestors, and with the unseen forces of life. When Christianity came to Ireland, it did not simply erase these traditions. Instead, many elements blended together. Celtic Christianity retained a strong sense of reverence for creation and a poetic awareness of the sacred woven through everyday life. Even the humble shamrock, so central to St. Patrick's Day imagery, can be seen as a symbol connecting these worlds, a simple plant of the earth layered with meaning over time. So what does that history mean for us? Many of us are not Irish. Most of us do not come from Celtic backgrounds. Yet every year we participate in this cultural moment in some way, whether that means wearing green, attending celebrations, or simply noticing the holiday around us. Celebration itself is not a problem. Joy is a spiritual practice. Community gatherings, music, and laughter are beautiful expressions of life. But our Unitarian Universalist values invite us to approach traditions with awareness and respect. We live in a world where cultures are often simplified into costumes or stereotypes. Sacred symbols become decorations, traditions are repackaged for entertainment, while the deeper history behind them is forgotten. This is what people are talking about when they speak of cultural appropriation. And the point is not to create shame or guilt. The point is to cultivate relationship. It is the difference between appreciation and appropriation. Appreciation listens. It learns. It acknowledges where something came from. As people committed to building a more compassionate world, we are invited to be mindful of how we engage with cultures that are not our own. One of the enduring gifts of Celtic spirituality is its deep reverence for the natural world. In our time, when climate change, environmental degradation, and ecological crisis so much shape our global reality, this wisdom feels especially important. The Celtic worldview reminds us that Earth is not merely a resource to be used. It is a living system to which we belong. The land is not separate from us. It sustains us. It shapes us. This perspective invites us to slow down and notice the subtle changes around us. The lengthening of daylight, the first blossoms appearing, the quiet signs that winter is giving way to spring. Spring doesn't arrive all at once. It unfolds gradually. Often the earliest signs of renewal are easy to miss. That, too, is a spiritual lesson. Hope often begins quietly. Change often starts beneath the surface. Life is stirring even when we cannot see it. These insights do not belong only to Celtic spirituality, but the Celtic tradition offers us beautiful language and imagery for remembering them. We do not need to claim the tradition as our own to learn from it. We only need humility. In spiritually curious communities like ours, there is often a desire to learn from many traditions. Unitarian Universalism itself draws wisdom from a wide range of sources, from world religions, from earth-centered spirituality, from humanist thought, and from personal experience. This openness is one of our strengths. But openness also comes with responsibility. When we engage with traditions that are not our own, we must do so thoughtfully. Have we taken the time to understand their origins? Do we acknowledge the communities that have preserved them? Are we honoring the tradition or reshaping it into something that feels comfortable for us while losing its deeper meaning? Celebrating St. Patrick's Day by wearing green is not harmful in itself. But when Irish culture is reduced to caricature, when sacred traditions become stereotypes, we participate, however unintentionally, in a long history of flattening cultures into entertainment. And we can choose another way, a way grounded in curiosity, respect, and care. So what might a deeper celebration look like? It might mean learning more about Irish history, not just the legends, but the real stories of resilience, colonization, and diaspora that shaped Irish identity. It might mean engaging Celtic spirituality through learning and reflection rather than assumption. It might mean honoring the earth itself, taking time to notice the signs of spring unfolding around us. And perhaps more importantly, it might mean reflecting on our own relationship with land, culture, and heritage. The Celtic idea of thin places reminds us that moments of awareness can open us to something deeper. Perhaps a thin place is not only a physical location, maybe it is also a moment of attention. A moment when we slow down enough to notice the sacred woven through ordinary life. As this season of green unfolds around us, may we celebrate with joy, but also with awareness. May we appreciate the traditions that shape our world without taking them for granted. May we remember the deeper roots beneath the surface of every holiday. And may we allow this season of early spring to remind us of something essential, that life is always renewing itself, that hope often begins quietly, and that when we approach the world with humility, curiosity, and care, even an ordinary holiday can become an invitation into deeper relationship with the earth, with history, and with one another. May we cause it to be so. Blessed be. Amen. Shalom. Assalamu alaikum. Namaste. Thank you all so much.